Well, now, these are the top 5 best companies to buy shares in Kenya with as low as 1,500 Kenyan shillings. You know what? This is the most requested video and people usually ask me, hey, you know what, Joseph, you share with us good ideas about buying shares, but what companies can we buy shares and what things should we consider before buying shares of any given company? Now, today is the day. All what you need to do, relax, watch this video to the end. And guess what? I promise you, I'm going to use the, like the simplest language. I'm going to avoid the biggest name like complexity and what have you. Because anyway, in stock, there are very big names. I've simplified and I've made it easier for you. All you can see from my board, I've made it easier for you. All right. So anyway, let's get into the business. But before we do that, just allow me for 1 minute to remind you one thing. I usually post a video each and every day like these ones. So if you don't want to miss any of my good videos in the future, do this. Doesn't cost you anything, it's free of charge. Down below there on your right, there is a small button written subscribe. Hit that magical button, turn that notification bell, and like this video. By only doing that, a whole YouTube will notify you whenever I upload a new good video. So let's get into the business. Now, you want to buy shares, you only have like 1,500, 2K, 3, 5, 10, whatever amount of money that you have. Now, these ideas or these companies, you can buy shares all the way from as low as 1,500. All right. So before you do exactly that, okay, there are some things that you need to consider before buying, shares of any given company. It is good I tell you that. Yeah. Before I tell you the names. Now, first thing that you need to consider is something called EPS. That is earning per share. How much will they give you, or how much do they give as a dividend per price per share? Let's say you have like 100 shares. EPS, earning per share, is that amount of money they give you or they pay you per the number of share or per share that you have. So if they are giving you like 2 shilling per share, so if you have 2,000 shares, so they will give you 4,000 at the end of the physical year. The other thing you need to compare or consider is 52-week range, meaning from, let's say, January to December. How is the price per share usually ranges? Let's say from 10 shillings to 20 shillings or something. How does it range? It's good to know how the company is performing, right? The other thing you need to compare also is something called dividend yield, okay? Dividend yield is like the percentage that it changes all the way, let's say from 1 year, or let's say from Jan to December, that change. All right, it's like the interest you usually get in a circle. Like if they tell you it's 12%, that is the percentage that usually change that you can actually anticipate into investing that company. The other thing that you need to understand in buying shares is also called market cap. Like this is the entire wealth of that given company. You find like a company is worth 70 billion, 80 billion, 60, 30. So that wealth. So obviously the more money it is, that tells you, hey, a lot of guys are putting their money into that, so it's a factor to consider. And the last one, but not the least, is about the price per share. This is the most important one. Yeah, and people always ask, hey, how much do I need to buy shares? You need to know the price per share because different companies, they usually have different prices per share. Now, let's get into the business. Now, company number 1, it's Absa Bank. And I know you know Absa Bank, it's out there. The Absa Bank, it's one company that you can actually buy shares. And by the way, the price per share in Absa Bank is actually 13 shillings as of today. By the way, I'm comparing those figures as of today and right now on 5th of October 2023. So the price per share of Absa Bank is 13. So what does it mean? You need to take 13 multiplied by 100. Why 100? Because the Sharias are Nairobi Securities Exchange, or meaning the laws of the Nairobi Securities Exchange says anyone who wishes to buy shares of any given company must buy 100 of them at least. So it is 13 shillings times 100, you get yourself 1,300. That's the amount of money you need. And of course, the transaction cost of the broker, 2% of that, that's like 26 shillings. So you need like 1,326 shillings to actually get started and be an owner of an Absa Bank. Wow, that's quite an interesting. All right. And by the way, when it comes to Absa Bank, this is how their market looks like. They have a market cap of 64.9 billion shillings. That's like their entire wealth and something of sort, right? They usually have a earning per share that is 2 shillings, and it means that if you have like 1,000 of these shares, or if you have 100 shares, so you get that number multiplied by 2.57 as the earning per share. They usually have a yield percent of 11.25%, meaning that the rate at which they are changing, that's quite a good amount, all right, in terms of the percentage. Their range is usually 10 to 13. In 1 year, the share price can actually fluctuate all the way from 10 shillings to 13 shillings. So right now, when it is 11 shillings, there is a possibility of it actually going all the way to 13 shillings. That's amazing. It's a company that you can actually pick and get started. All right. The next company actually you can go ahead with it is none other than Cooperative Bank. This is quite a popular bank. You can actually go there and buy shares. And that Cooperative Bank, you need to have yourself 11.85. Right? Yeah, 11.85 is the amount of money that you need, is the price per share of that given company. That is the price per of 5th of October 2023. So if it is 11.85, therefore you take the 11.85, that's the price per share, times 100, gives you like, let's talk of 1200. So 1200 plus like 22 shillings, 30 shillings around there. So you need like 1,230 shillings to buy the shares of that cooperative bank. And by the way, cooperative bank, this is how it performs. Market cap is usually 67.86 billion Kenyan shillings. It has a range of 10 to 14 shillings, like it ranges all the way from 10 to 14 shillings. So then it means there is a possibility of very good growth, and also 12.6% yield. That's the rate at which it changes. That's quite an impressive, by the way, compared to that of an ABSA. And earning per share is usually 3.85 shillings. Amazing. That's actually a very good amount of money. If you can earn yourself like 20,000 or 10,000 or maybe 1,000 shares, you can just imagine, 1,000 times 3.5, then you have saved like close to 4,000 earning. And there is also a possibility of increasing in terms of the price per share. That would be amazing. That's an area that you should consider when buying your shares. And number 3, by the way, this one I have to include it. It's the animal in the room. It's like the beast. You get what I'm saying? And this company is none other than Safaricom company. Safaricom company can actually go ahead and buy shares with as low as 1,500 as of now as we speak. The price per share as a Safaricom company right now is 14.35. What does it mean? It means like, hey, 14.35 times 100 gives you like 1,440 something of sort, plus like 50 or 30 shillings out there. So you need sub 1,500 to actually buy Safaricom shares as we speak right now. You can be an owner of that given company. Yeah, I understand there's some information. Hey, the company has been going down all the way from 26 shillings to now to 14 shillings. But guess what? This is a thing that is happening out there. And I always tell people, excuse me, whenever there is a bear market, meaning the market is going down, it's usually the best time to actually invest. You are there, you're reserved, you're saying, hey, I can't invest right now because it is going down. It's the best time to buy. Come on. This is when the wealthy actually put their money into this company, because this company actually are projected to revamp once the economy actually goes back to the feet, and everything will be okay. Let me just shed some light on how it looks. By the way, did you know that Safaricom is the biggest company that is listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange? And it is the company that actually has close right now is 586.96 billion. That is close to, that's actually over 500 billion Kenyan shillings. That's a huge amount of money. Earning per share is 1.55 shillings and percentage yield is 8.16. Not so quite impressive, but anyway, it's promising. And also the range is actually 12 to 26. This is amazing. See, it has the potential of actually bouncing back to that specific thing. You know why? This is actually one of the most, should I say, anticipated, loved, or mostly invested on in terms of the earnings and what have you. This is quite an impressive company to invest your shares. I would dare do get myself into this. All right. So anyway, it's quite an amazing thing. By the way, I'm talking as if I've not invested. I am an investor in this company. Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is, all right? I'm not advertising any company here. I'm just sharing the ideas. Nobody has paid me anything to advertise this company. And I'm actually not even advertising them. I'm sharing the ideas to you. Anyway, let's go to the next one. The next one is about KCB Bank, or KCB Holdings, or KCB Group. Depends on how you... Let me just use the KCB Bank because that will resonate well with you. But you know one thing, in that KCB Bank, it's just like a thing in a whole umbrella. In KCB Bank, we have the KCB Capital, that's a share brokerage and what have you. It's like they have a brokerage on buying shares and they also sell their shares. It's quite an amazing thing. Anyway, so the KCB usually they have a price per share of 20.9 Kenyan shillings. Yeah, I know that one will go beyond the 1,500 that I promised, but anyway, with the 12,000, okay, take 20.9 times 100. That's like 2,100. Okay. 2,100 plus, let's say the transaction cost of the broker, maybe like 50, 60 or something of sort, you still need less than, 2,200. That's quite an impressive amount of money. You can just grasp or get a piece of that given company. So you should look into that and invest in that given company. So KCB Bank, it's actually doing good. And by the way, have you noticed one thing? Like all what I've just been talking about is like bank. Yeah, I think Kenya Financial Bank are doing good. And that explains the reason as to why you find You see, these banks, they usually invest in areas like the money market fund. They usually invest in areas like the treasury bills, treasury bonds. They give loans and what have you. It is quite promising, by the way. When you see banks behaving in this manner, and when you see banks actually appearing in this big list as far as the shares are concerned, that's quite impressive. It tells us that our economy right now may be a bit pressing, but anyway, it is promising in future because, hey, I've been talking about banks, except the last one. By the way, the last one is not about bank. Anyway, so let's just have a look of how the KCB performs. KCB has a market capital or market cap of 67.32 billion Kenyan shillings. Has a range, a 52-week range of 20 to 40. That means it has the potential of actually going all the way to 40 shillings per share. What if, can you just imagine this? What if you buy today at 20.9 and then it bumps back to 40 Kenyan shillings? Oh, amazing. That's close to double of your amount. That's what we call the capital gain. Okay, that would be amazing. All right, and it has a yield of 9.55 Kenyan, or rather 9.55% in terms of the dividend yield. So why don't you think of grabbing those companies? All right, the last one but not the least, it's about East African breweries. You know why I did include this company in the list? Kenya really takes alcohol. I know there's no need of lying about that. Kuchapa sherehe, that's what we call it here in Kenya. People are taking alcohol. And if the biggest company that manufactures alcohol in this country, and by the way, not only in this country, but the large entire stretch of East Africa, it's actually the East African brewery. It's arguably maybe the big in terms of East Africa and Central Africa. I don't know. Someone can caution me. Can actually, I stand corrected. But it's quite a humongous or a big company that you can actually go ahead and buy shares to or from that given company. Let me just shed some light. Yeah, I understand this one is quite heavy. It is true. By the way, the share price per this specific company is 120 as of today. All right. So you can imagine if you take 120 times 100, that will give you like 12,000. Yeah, I know how that has already violated my topic that says, hey, with 1,500. But anyway, if you can just, dig deep a little bit, you can be able to get a grasp of this given company. It means that, hey, you're going to get something at the end of the day. All right. So anyway, how does it perform? It has a market cap of 98.06 billion Kenyan shillings, has a 52-week range of 120 to 170, and has a yield of 44.17%. Yeah, that's quite low, by the way, obviously, but I don't know why. Well, it has an EPS, that is earning per share of 14.99. I think that's the highest of all the companies here. Yeah, it's highest of all the companies here. So anyway, guys, that's the list of my top 5 companies that I will consider them as the highest in terms of where you can put your money with shares as far as the Kenya is concerned. Those are the areas that you're supposed to look upon them. All right. So anyway, guess what? That marks the end of my video. But don't forget, you can always grab my number from the description of this specific video. I have a booklet that explains all about these shares. Yeah, I have a booklet. That booklet goes for only 280 Kenyan shillings. For now, it's a goodbye. See you in the next one.